係啦，亦都夠鐘嚇，夠法定人數。咁我
All right, we have a quorum and we've passed the appointed hour. The meeting is now called to order. Item number 1, confirmation of the minutes of the meetings held on the 24th of February and also 28th of March. They are CB1 1464/1314 and 1426/1314. We have not received any proposed amendments, so the minutes are confirmed. The two sets of minutes are confirmed. All right, then item 2, information papers issued since the last meeting. There's only one paper, a letter dated the 15th of May from Dr. Kenneth Chan, paper CB1 1448/1314, bracket 01. It is about information on illegal ivory trade in Hong Kong. Item 3, items for discussion at the next meeting. Members may refer to the list of follow-up actions and list of outstanding items for discussion, and they are CB1 1460/1314, bracket 01 and 02. We have received the proposal from the administration on the 23rd of June, which is our regular meeting. We're going to discuss two items. Number 1, restored landfill revitalization fund scheme and strengthening the emission control of petrol and LPG vehicles and increasing the fee of vehicle emission testing. There are two discussion items which are very close to members' hearts, and therefore we have arranged two special meetings. The one is on the 25th of June at 8:30 Wednesday. It is the impact of construction works on endangered species and marine ecology and also fishery. And there is another special meeting, which is 17th of July at 2:30 p.m., which is to discuss implementation of the recycling fund or implementation recycling policy, including the recycling fund. I know that members have a lot to say on these two items, and therefore we'll have two special meetings so that there will be ample time for members to ask questions and give views. And if members do not have any special things to say, then we can end our meetings earlier. So, what do you think? Okay. Then, if you're agreeable, then from now until the end of July, we have 4 more meetings. We have 4 more meetings. 2 are special meetings, which will be for in-depth discussion on marine ecology and fishery, and also on the implementation of recycling measures. Okay, let us invite the officials in so that we can move on to agenda item number 4, which is Waste Disposal Amendment Ordinance Commencement Notice. We have 3 items on the agenda today for discussion. One is the commencement notice. Is a short of briefing, routine briefing. The other is another routine briefing on public works, retrofitting noise barriers. And then the third item is monitoring the use of the Environment and Conservation Fund. I will give less time to the first 2 items. We have the Undersecretary, Ms. Christine Low, the Assistant Director, Environment, Mr. Samson Lai, attending our meeting. So, Ms. Low or Mr. Lai, who will take us through the paper. This is a short briefing. The law has been endorsed by members. We are here to discuss with you the commencement date. Commencement date will be appointed by subsidiary legislation, and we are going to gazette the commencement date on Friday, and with the gazette law there is a natural timetable. We are quite keen on this ordinance. We want it to come into effect in August. This is part of the whole package on waste disposal. The LegCo has a timetable. And therefore, we come before you as soon as possible. This is on the commencement date. Our commencement notice, we can set it on Friday, and then you go to House Committee for discussion. And I don't know whether you will endorse that immediately. Now, if there is any query, you can ask us as early as possible. And in our paper, we have provided you with a certain form. Now, you ask us to talk to the trade on the procedures before we appoint the commencement date. We have done that, and we have discussed with the trade on the forms. If you don't find it problematic, then at the House Committee, will you just not form a subcommittee? That's something I hope you can discuss. Whether you have we have the subcommittee or not, it will come into effect anyways. Yes, Madam Chairman, it is by negative vetting. The commencement date is set after the first 28 days have elapsed. We will not be standing in your way even if we have a subcommittee. I hope members understood the time frame. In fact, even if we have a subcommittee, we will not stand in the way of this ordinance.
As long as no one asks for an extension, otherwise it will be all the way to October. So, any questions on the paper and the forms? If not, then I think it's endorsed. Let me ask this again. I'm a bit timid here. I want to reconfirm this. If there's no question, we'll proceed to item number 5. And we thank Mr. Lai for his attendance. But that doesn't mean that we will definitely not set up a subcommittee. That's understood. All right, but please take a look at the forms. Those are not yet finalized, although in scrutinizing the bill, all the principles were expounded and explained. But if you have got anything about the details in the form, please by all means raise them. I would like to get it started, and if you've got any views, please let us know. All right. I think all the parties have established close liaison links with the political assistant, the undersecretary, and other officials. All right. Let's move on to item number 5 on the agenda, and that is a public works project, retrofitting of noise barriers on Two Moon Road, Town Centre section. The paper is a CB bracket 11460 1314 bracket 05. We have the Undersecretary for this item, and also Assistant Director from the EPD, Mr. Tan King Fai, and also Mr. Pok Kwok Ming, Deputy Project Manager from the Highways Department. Over to you, Undersecretary, for an introduction. Before I start, I have to say that this issue has been in discussion for a long time, and there's a consensus in the district. And we will be happy to take questions to the best of our ability, and we hope that with your agreement we can join the queue for the PWSC. We also have Mr. Maurice Young, Principal Environmental Protection Officer, Assessment and Noise from EPD for this item. So hands up, please. Who would like to ask questions? 3 members, 5 minutes for each member. It's Mr. Ho Chun Yin. I grew up in Tuen Mun. In recent years, a lot of noise barriers have been erected along Tuen Mun Road near the footbridge or phase 1 or phase 2 of Tuen Mun. And there's another section as set out in the paper. You can reduce noise by 1 to 25 dB. Why is the lowest level so low, just 1 dB? And how do you set the levels? Although you are criticized by members a lot, you don't have to be so conservative. Thank you, Madam Chair. But the noise barriers would help the so-called noise recipients. And some of these recipients are still facing the highway, so they are subject to other road-generated noise. So the reduction is just 1 dB for these at the end of the noise barriers. How do you set this range, 1 to 25 dB? Maybe we can use a map to explain this. Mr. Yuan, are you saying that for some locations the reduction is 1 dB, for some others it may be up to 25 dB? Let me use the plan to help us explain. There are many buildings there near Tuen Mun New Town. We have a comfort, and then another building, Leksan. For comfort building is a fully enclosed noise barrier, so the units there would benefit from a high reduction. For example, from 83 dB, it can be reduced by 20 dB and all the way to lower than 70 dB. Opposite, please use the mouse pointer to. Do we have any laser pointer? The map is a bit small. Sorry, this is a comfort building. Opposite, there are also other residential dwellings. They are also subject to noise from Chengtin interchange. So even with a bigger barrier, they are affected by other noise sources. So the reduction is just 1 dB. But in the middle part, Kampo, the effect is quite good. Or Tongwei, the noise will be reduced from 70 plus to under 70 dB, a reduction of 10, because it's a semi-enclosed noise barrier. So at different locations, the benefit that they gained would be different. That's understood. But please don't expect everyone to know where Hoido is. Not everyone lives in Tuen Mun. I don't have sufficient time. I will leave my other questions to the next round. Mr. Poche, like Mr. Ho, I'm concerned about these noise barriers costing $600 million or so. I think the material and construction methods are similar with what we had in the past. my impression is that $600 million is quite a big sum. So I think we're talking about a total length of more than 700 meters. The reduction is just 1 or up to 25 dB. 1,800 dwellings will be benefited. Another 100 will not be benefited. Madam Chair, you know that when you do these things, we have to prioritize. So for 100 dwellings, they don't even get a reduction of 1 dB. But how many dwellings will just get the noise reduced by 1 dB or just nominal reduction? So we have to weigh the cost, $600 million, against the number of dwellings that would be benefited. In paragraph 13, it's mentioned that you are going to generate 20,000 tons of waste. Why is the waste amount so high? Can we be given more information? And also, are these noise barriers the best option we have? Are there better alternatives? Thank you. From coming to the lake shore, we have free enclosed one, noise barrier, semi-enclosed ones, cantilever noise barrier, and 1,800 dwellings will benefit from noise barriers. They will get a reduction of more than 1 dB. 1,300 dwellings will have their noise level reduced to below 70 dB after the noise barriers have been erected. Well, if it's 70 to 69, it's under 70, but if it's just a reduction of 1 dB, we may have reservation. Well, we have 1,300 dwellings with noise reduced to below 70. About 100 would get a reduction of about 1 dB. There are government quarters facing Ching Tin interchange. They are affected by Ching Tin interchange. I think 10% or lower than 10% of dwellings would get a reduction of 1 dB. We do believe it's very effective. 1,300 dwellings will be reduced. We have the noise dwellings reduced to under 70. Are they suffering noise above 70 dB? Well, the noise barriers will benefit 1,800 dwellings, among which 1,300 dwellings would have their noise level reduced to under 70 dB. At present, the dB is over 80. Many of them are subject to over 80 dB. The highest can be as much as 86 dB. So the 1,300 dwellings would be benefited depending. The extent would depend on the location. If you want to have a detailed breakdown on the reduction in dB, well, we'll have the figures, but it's not in the paper. We can provide information after the meeting to inform members how many dwellings would have the noise reduced by 1 or 5 dB. Let me supplement. I know what Mr. Chair is asking, but in the future, in drafting a paper, we can give you information on the range. For example, if it is from 1 dB to 25 dB, They want to know, members want to know the efficiency. If those people are getting a big reduction, and very few are getting a reduction of 1 to 3 dB, and that may convince members that this is worth our while. Mr. Young was trying to scribble something. I believe they've got the information, but we don't have the information now. Let me now turn to construction waste. Maybe the second round. We have time. But I would like to share some information with members. 1,800 dwellings. On average, every dwelling would cost $340,000, according to a PolyU professor. We can install a special type of window to reduce noise. I can't remember offhand the level of reduction, but if you apply the unique cost, $340,000 per dwellings, I don't think you need to spend that much. I think it would cost you a few tens of thousands of dollars per dwelling. That's why I asked whether there were alternatives. Ms. Claudia Mo, thank you, Madam Chair. In the town center, you want to erect noise barriers to make the living environment better for the residents. I don't think anyone would oppose to this. The only question is the cost effectiveness. I don't want to digress. Let's look at the overall policy. In Tai Kok Tsui Town Center, you have the West Kowloon corridor cutting through, and the carriageway is just a few meters from the buildings. We've asked for something to be done, but it's said that it's not possible because if you want to erect noise barriers, retrofitting noise barriers, or to have some columns built from the ground floor, it's not feasible.
Now, if you are going to spend $340,000 per unit to help those living in Tuen Mun, how can you help those in Tai Kok Tsui in the urban area? This is a bit digression. I think Mr. Young can answer that. That may be more cost-effective. They are smaller. They are shorter buildings. Will you put up double glazed windows for them? They are poor people. Would that be more cost-effective? I think that's a bigger policy issue. Chairman, as you may recall, last year we spent about a year. We had a group speaking on discussing light pollution, noise pollution, air pollution, and we all agree that noise pollution is a serious problem in Hong Kong. And concerning a comprehensive policy, how can we deal with old buildings and how can we deal with new buildings? For old buildings, there are several problems. One of them is that there is a thoroughfare right outside the window, or right in front of the window. Now, up to now, we don't have any good policy to deal with that. With regard to existing roads near residential units and the residents are affected by traffic noise, we consider what can be done to the road itself. One is to use low noise materials to pave the road surface. We also consider whether a noise barrier can be built. Building a noise barrier is quite complicated. Concerning old flyovers, they have very limited loading capacity, and there is the concern about its structure, whether it can bear the loading. And we also need to consider the problem caused by the barrier itself. Say, for example, it may block the EVA, it may block the entrance and exit of vehicles. So we need to consider the technical feasibility. Many existing roads, because of technical reasons, one or another, noise barrier can be retrofitted. Ka-lok is an example. It's not about the height of the building. It is about the road structure. Can you put the double glazed windows to block to reduce the noise? No, double glazed windows are another thing. Our policy is to work at the source. We deal with the road to reduce the noise. As for units affected by noise, we have no policy to fit special windows for them or double glazed windows for them. But if owners want to fit double glazed windows and also air conditioning to deal with the problem, then it's up to them. But can you consider a new policy that is to help the poor families to put up double glazed windows? With regard to noise, we don't have a comprehensive policy to deal with that. It's not that we deny the problem, but we don't have a policy. In fact, at the working group or subcommittee meeting, we did exchange views with members. Even if you try to press me today, I cannot give you a satisfactory answer. But this has to be done in the future. Yes, Mr. Tang, concerning double glazed windows, we are looking into that. If the roads are near the, or if new buildings are put up near the roads and there is a noise problem, we do ask the builder to provide double glazed windows. But this has to be dealt with through the town planning board or the lands department. We can set lease conditions. In the future, there may be greater development in this regard. Concerning the installation of double glazed windows to existing buildings, we have to see whether it is suitable, whether it complies with the buildings department requirements and also ventilation matters. And there are technical problems to be solved. Well, you put up a noise barrier along the road, it will cause a ventilation problem. It will block ventilation. Now, the subcommittee on noise, air and light pollution have made a report, and in July we'll have lined up to make the report. And the administration is to respond to that. I think you're giving $340,000 for each household to have the noise barrier, but you don't need that much for the double glazed windows. In fact, I don't fully agree with that. People have been arguing after there is such a requirement. The developers provide double glazed windows along for new buildings along Tuen Mun Road, and people have to close their windows all the time. And there is a lot of arguments, and therefore the administration is forced to put up the noise barriers. There are two issues here. People were strongly against the noise barrier in Fu Tei. Later on, some villages opposed to the noise barrier, and the road alignment and design has to be changed. People are against a monster outside their homes. Although they have done some greening, that's still not good enough. So there is a visual pollution, and also there is ventilation problem. If you live in a low-rise building, if you walk past by that stretch of the road, there is a problem of lighting and ventilation, and there is therefore there are always arguments on either side. With regard to ventilation, I think some of the noise barriers are quite close to the residential units. Now, the objections were lodged, and the CN Council made an amendment, or made some amendments, similar to were there strong objections similar to those in Fute? How bad is the ventilation and also visual appearance problem? In fact, a consultant has been commissioned to assess noise, ventilation, and visual impact. There will be improvement to the majority of the residents with regard to noise and also air pollution. Air pollution will not deteriorate. There are more and more such noise barriers. Usually, the lower part of the noise barriers are completely sealed. Now, for these noise barriers that are close to residential, to pedestrian footpaths, will there be any ventilation for those parts of the barrier that are close to pedestrian footpaths? And there is also the need to balance the emissions by vehicles if you improve ventilation. And I hope there can be better vertical greening.
多謝主席嚇，或者呢度我講一講啦。就本身喺我哋呢個減屏障嘅設計咧
Mr. Bok, concerning the design of the noise barrier, if there is ventilation on the lower part of the noise barrier, then if air can go through, noise can also escape via those areas, those openings. So it will defeat the purpose. We also, that's a concern, and we also have noise absorbing boards along. So for the first 1 or 2 meters lower the ground, they are noise absorbing boards which are not transparent. On the upper part of barrier, they are transparent boards. And on the pedestrian side, we will put up planters. Now, you should consider the vertical greening design along Yangok Road. I know there are difficulties of vertical greening. If you have a good design and if you have the right species, you will help to reduce visual impact, adverse visual impacts. Yes, we understand this point. But you have not answered the question on ventilation. As said by our colleague, we've got a consultant to consider noise and ventilation or air pollution. How many object? How many still object to the proposal? After Gazettal, we received 1,400 or so objections. And after mediation, 163 withdrawn. And there were 1,000 outstanding objections. Where did they come from? Which housing estate? They didn't come from the housing estates. They came from a school. Paragraph 20. So the housing estates didn't oppose. No, they didn't. Mr. Tang, of the 1,200 objections, they mainly came from a school. As for the residents, all the residents supported that, the barrier, and the district council too. Mr. Loy Kwok. The best to remove traffic noise is to remove it at source. say, noise-absorbing paving materials are one way. Managing traffic flow, managing traffic speed are also desirable, but we cannot rely on these measures to achieve our purpose easily. Noise barrier is the last resort set by Mr. Chen. With regard to ventilation and adverse visual impacts, we all know that. We don't need to belabor the point. In a case, at Shatin Taichung Q Road, the Highways Department said that they had to put up a noise barrier, but the City 1 residents in Shatin opposed that because of adverse visual impacts and air ventilation, and because of this, the administration is trying to improve the design of noise barriers. I was involved in a scheme, a competition organized by the Highways Department. I was one of the adjudicators on the design competition on noise barriers. I cannot recall whether this stretch of the road was one of the proposals in the competition. And if it wasn't, then there were award-winning designs. And can they be applied here so that we can find a suitable balance?
Who would take this question? Maybe I can reply to Mr. Lowe's question. Thank you for your question. Well, there was a design competition on noise barriers. In the town center section, we have a noise enclosure, and some beautification has been applied. So those winning entries and related concepts have been applied to that section. The competition was about a few road sections. Is this one of those? No. But I think these design concepts and principles can equally be applied here. Well, after the design competition, we borrowed those concepts. We applied those in the town center section. As I've said, as far as possible, we will try to do screening alongside. In this project, we're going to provide planters, provided that the space allows us to do this, so that there would be a greening. Some members are concerned about the level of noise reduction for individual dwellings. They have certain questions. Well, I think that this is rather complicated in terms of the calculation method. It's not a two-dimensional matter. It can be three-dimensional. So sometimes even though a dwelling may be closer, it's not noisier than another dwelling which is at a farther distant away, because there may be barrier in between, other barriers in between. So it's a very complicated calculation. It's about noise assessment based on the 3D three-dimensional calculation. But I think the easier way is to tell us the outcome or the extent of reduction, and then we can tell whether it's a good value for money. Can you give us the information? Well, they can give us after the meeting. Well, we'll see how we can improve our presentation. or in other countries, under flyovers and footbridges, they have provided greening, climbing plants with big leaves, which can improve air quality, and also can some noise barriers be less obstructive to ventilation? Can we have something that is that allows air to pass, and yet you can use some other design to insulate the noise? Can plants reduce noise? Well, psychologically, you make people feel comfortable because of the greening. But in terms of noise reduction, it's really difficult to rely on plants. If you look at other countries' experience, look at their experience. If you want to reduce 1 decibel, 1 dB, you have to plant trees of 10 meters in width. As for the kind of trees that we plant on the divider or of the carriageway, I wonder if Mr. Pook can help us here. Well, we have some orchid light and also some climbing plants. Second round, Mr. Paul Chair. I want to follow up on 2 previous questions. First, construction waste. Because you use a lot of prefabricated material to construct noise barriers. So how come you have to create so much noise? And we're talking about a very short section of the road. Next thing that I want to consider is the cost effectiveness, and in the consideration, well, you have to see if there are alternatives. For example, windows. Can you have windows which can still be opened and reduce noise at the same time? I don't know why some of the sections are not fully enclosed. I will ask my colleague to reply to the members' question on enclosure 2 or waste. I will take the first question after that. Regarding construction waste, it's because of the foundation work. We need to excavate the ground to build the column, the pillar, the foundation, and therefore so much construction waste has been created. But they are inert construction waste. 50% can be transported to the fuel bank for future uses, and some 10,000 tons can be used for refilling. So most of the waste generated can be recycled and reused. What about other questions? The full enclosure design, we are concerned about the balance. Enclosure 2 and the cross sections.
呢個圓臂式同埋半密封式啊，全密封式係咪即係就係
？Full enclosure means it's completely enclosed. Is that the understanding? A full enclosed noise barrier. Rosedale Garden is here. Rosedale Gardens here, and we are going to have a full noise enclosure and a semi enclosure here. Here is a full enclosure. The cross section is something like this. On both sides, it's fully enclosed. In the middle, there are concrete columns to support it at 6-meter intervals. So in the town center, this is already there. After this section is also completed, or they would have some sort of extension. It looks like this, a total length of 130 meters. Any further questions? And what about the effectiveness? As I've said, if we want to have a comprehensive policy on noise pollution, it's a difficult question. Mr. Albert Chan and Mr. Loy Kwok have already commented that there are always divergent views on different options. In July, we are going to take a look at your report, and I believe you have devoted a lot of your space to noise pollution, and there have been quite a lot of discussion. We haven't got an overall policy, but perhaps we can make the best of the July meeting when we have a discussion on the report. We can focus on noise. According to the paper, there's a school that objects strongly that the school is close to the right-hand side of the plan. Just opposite the Kenneth building is Tamley Life-Fan Memorial Secondary School. What's the objection? Is it because there is a wall-like structure opposite the caretaker's quarters? And then on the road, if the noise barriers are constructed, they would not be changed. It's not a cantilevered, overarching noise barrier. But if the adjacent sites are sold for residential building, then the future dwellings will suffer. Is that right? Well, the noise objects not because there is a visual or air pollution problems. The school would like the noise barriers to be spared from the need to introduce other mitigation measures, for example, air conditioners and double glazed windows, and they will still not be subject to excessive noise. The school was installed with double glazed windows and air conditioning back in 1994 by the authorities. In 1999, and through the ED's school improvement projects, some additional facilities were provided. They hope that our noise barriers will take into account their needs. But these noise barriers are erected to take care of residents. If we want to take care of the needs of the school, then instead of the semi-enclosure, the noise semi-enclosure has to be turned into a full noise enclosure, and it will be only be effective if the length is 200 meters or longer. As we know, full noise enclosures may create other negative impacts, air, visual impacts, as well as cost implications. So we don't think we should do this to meet the needs of the school. But the semi-enclosed enclosure can benefit the school as well. They have a caretaker's quarters, which is a low-rise building, and the ED, Education Bureau, has not installed any sound insulation facility for them. So we are going to provide a low noise barriers of 3 meters by 4 meters for the quarters. And we have consulted the district council as well. But that's after the consultation.
Any follow-up questions? Do you recommend this to the PWSC? Any objection? No? Okay, then we will recommend this to the PWSC. Okay. Mr. Tony Chair. I have no objection, but I hope they pay attention to two things. First, we need the data. Give us more details so that we know how many units have experienced how much decline in noise. Yes, we'll provide the details. We are concerned about cost effectiveness. Concerning costs, can you provide more details when you give the paper to the PWSC? Yes, please. While you provide further information to this panel, please also submit such papers to the PWSC. I don't know how many members here are PWSC members, so it's better for you to provide information to this panel and the PWSC as well. We move on to item 6, monitoring the use of the Environment and Conservation Fund, CB 1460-1314, bracket 06 and 07. We have Miss Christine Lowe still with us, and then we also have Mr. CW Chair, Deputy Director of Environmental Protection, and Dr. Samuel Choi, PEPO, also from the EPD. Okay, so the officials, please. Paper 1460, bracket 06. Madam Chairman, concerning the ECF, I would like to make a PowerPoint presentation with 7 or 8 slides. We will repeat a little bit on the information about the ECF, how it operates. We're just 5 or 6 slides. We've cut a lot of slides. Some are familiar, some may not. Some may not recall the basic information. Well, in fact, we are earlier. We can complete the presentation in 5 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. Let me brief you on the operation of the fund. We were set up in 1994. We gave $1.9 billion supporting 4,300 projects, including waste reduction, energy efficiency, environmental education, and conservation to educate and promote the public. We were given $5 billion last year, and then that's with seed money, and it generates income for our green projects. We subsidize non-profit making organizations to promote to support environmental education, raise community environmental awareness, promote behavioral and lifestyle change, and protect the environment, achieve conservation and sustainable development. The project has to be non-profit making. Applicants are non-profit making groups, organizations. We consider the education value and sustainability of the proposals. We have 4 vetting subcommittees to vet the proposals. If the project is more than $2 million, then the ECF committee will vet the application. The 4 subcommittees are environmental education, community action projects. They are for general education projects and minor works. And then next is community waste reduction, energy conservation, research, technology demonstration, so on and so forth. Each applicant has to provide us with a progress report and a completion report to prove that they have complied with the proposal and have complied with the rules and funding conditions. And we release the money on a reimbursement basis. Projects more than $150,000 will have to be vetted by a professional accountant. The committee, the vetting subcommittee, and the secretariat have checked time and again on such projects, and we have conducted 2,600 inspections. As for EE and CA projects, we approved about 1,100 of them. 95% were used for projects within schools, such as greening rooftops, renewable energy installations, so on and so forth. Half of the primary and secondary schools have been given the support. As community-based waste reduction, this is our priority to enhance people's awareness of recycling and people's knowledge of recycling. We've approved 150 projects for recycling plastic, glass bottles, and WEEs. And we've extended it to food donation, food waste. We collect food from markets and shops to distribute them to the needy. And we've also get the Center for Food Safety to provide assistance to deal with climatic change. In 2009, we launched a one-off project, and that includes energy-saving installations by buildings. 1/7 of the buildings in Hong Kong have been supported by us. With the completion of the installations, we'll be able to save about 2 megawatt-hours per year. We also reach agreements with the management of important conservation sites, and there are a number of conservation projects. In these places, the number of birds and flies have increased. So much for my introduction. Thank you.
議員舉咗手提。
3 members have raised their hands. If there isn't any more member, then I'll give more time to each member. Albert Chen, Claudia Mo, and Kenneth Chen. Basically, I support these projects, but there is a phenomenon which has attracted public attention. These NGOs have cast doubts in people's mind with regard to their financial operation. I don't want to see the repetition of the Lion and Dragon Dance Festival. Now, we checked the information of green groups. They don't have financial reports. They don't have annual reports. And some green groups don't even have a financial report in the past 3 years. I hope that starting from today, when you provide the funding, please ask for the disclosure of the financial report of the previous year. If it is an independent body, I don't care whether it is profiteering or non-profit making. But if it gets public money, then the financial report, the audited financial report should be made available to the public. say this year it applies for funding. Now we are in May already, and if its financial report last year hadn't gone through the auditors, then you better reject the application. There is no audited financial report, and you really can't trust them with the money. They may have $1 million or a few more $1 million, and therefore they don't need our support. Their financial report has to be published and made available to the public. And number two, the project itself, the income and expenditure of the project should be made available to the public. I don't need their names. The names can be blotted out, but the income and expenditure accounts have to be made available to the public. Some organizations raise funds, and they raise not enough money even for administrative fees or administrative costs. We need to make good use of public money. I believe most of them are good, but we shouldn't let a small number of the organizations which don't disclose their information and therefore cast doubts on the whole scheme. With regard to all those supported organizations, if the amount of subsidy is more than $150,000, then there has to be an audited report on this project. But this is not disclosed to the public. I know that. We only give the money after we've read the report. Now, you ask us to publish the audited reports. We have to talk to the funds. I support you giving the money to do that, but it is for you to set the rules. It's for you to set the rules. You should take the lead among the government departments. If you want to get public money, then comply with these two simple conditions. 1 year before the applicant's audited financial report has to be made public, and after the completion of the project, say after 3 months, then the income and expenditure report or income expenditure accounts will have to be published. This is really a humble request. I see no reason for rejecting that. If I may want to ask this. We have many different kinds of non-profit organizations. According to Ms. Elby Chan, say a university asks money for conducting research. Well, the universities, they publish their accounts. The annual reports are available. I know that. It's about the institution itself, and it's also about the information on the project. What are you asking? Both. Say if it is the University of Hong Kong, I don't know what department. I may not be able to go into such details. I want the information on the institution. I don't want to go into the details to avoid complexity. And also about that project. Now you only pay after you've got the report. So maybe after you've paid them, say after they've completed the project of 3 months, then they publish the accounts. I asked for the financial accounts of this project only. Yes, I now understand the member's request. And this is the first time we've heard heard about his request. We'll go back and let the committee discuss the matter. Thank you. It's not a question of privacy. They use public money and there is no privacy to talk about. I think Mr. Chen's view is, how can you enhance the transparency of this fund? We don't need to argue over the details, but we need to have a regular scheme. And We need to make the requirement regular. And we also need to consider whether the present arrangement is transparent enough. Well, I've spoken a lot in this council, but not many people are interested. I've given many examples. I have named the projects. We check the institution. It didn't have any financial report in the past 3 years, and it gets more than $500,000. These are maybe the good friends of the pro-establishment. Well, I don't think the pro-establishment will be against that. I think it's good to enhance transparency. Ms. Claudia Mo, the ECF itself is a good thing, but we are talking about a big sum of money, $5 billion. And since the scandal of the Lion and Dragon Dance Festival, doubts have been cast on people's mind concerning these funds. Now, it wasn't about the Lion and Dragon Dance Fund. In November last year, in Meifu, there is a community group called Manhattan Friends. It is said that it has close relations with the DAB. There is a name list. It has obtained $250,000 to provide assistance on WEEE. These Manhattan Friends later organize a one-day environmental tour. It's a barbecue. What is most environment unfriendly is you burn charcoal. It was reported in the newspaper. I asked you about it, but I asked you whether you were not aware of that before the newspaper report. You dodged the question. You didn't give any reply. You just say that how strict you are in terms of vetting the projects.
So what has become of this case? Do you think that the one-day barbecue activity carried out by the Manhattan Friends relevant to the project, or is irrelevant and the relevant cost will not be approved or reimbursed? What, did you give prior approval or not? And you said that the publicity materials have been retracted, and it was an administrative mistake to put the logo of the ECF on the promotion leaflet. Do you have any sanction or penalty, or they just say sorry and that's it? If there's no one making the complaint, or if there's no media report, then it would get away. Well, I understand that it ended up that the funding is $130,000, not $250,000 as previously approved. You said that they had to complete all the reports of their programs, and the accounts must be audited. Otherwise, their last subvention, sum of subvention will not be granted. So what about the other sums previously granted? I'm very concerned about the approval mechanism. It's a pork barrel spending. Well, let me say this. My colleague will give a detailed explanation in a moment. Well, when NGOs apply for funding, well, we do it by reimbursement. Yes, and also it's a reimbursed in phases. Don't mix up different things. Whether it's in line with the objective. my colleague would say something about the processing of such a funding mechanism. Well, we learned about this case from the media. We only knew when the reporter, after the importer had informed us, and we tried to look into the case to see if it's substantiated. Well, when we approved the funding project, we stipulated what should be done. For example, recovery of waste, electronic and electrical waste, WEEE, and nothing was mentioned about the barbecue. So even if let me interrupt. Maybe the one-day tour report says that they are there to introduce the recycling ideas to the participants. And they didn't mention the barbecue. Well, they didn't mention the one-day tour in the application. So whether what they said during the tour will not be relevant. And also in the publicity materials, they carry the ECF. Well, did they abuse your logo? So we carried out an investigation. Well, some of the staff members have thought that that activity was part of the subvented activities, and put the logo on the publicity material. In fact, it was not. So we gave warning to them, and we asked for all the materials and advertisements be retracted. I think the case would just involve the misuse of our logo. They would never have gotten any funding from us. Let's say, not me, if someone wants to carry out a green activity, and if inadvertently they use a logo and other people would be misled or cheated, and then you just give me a warning, there's no problem. I think we should apply common sense. If someone does something which is not right, is it deliberate, or is it just coincidence or inadvertent mistake? Or maybe the mistake is committed by a subordinate staff, Miss Mo. Although we have quite a lot of time, it's been the time limit has been exceeded already. If the mistake is committed by the organization, and then it would take someone to inform the authority to kickstart an investigation. I don't think the authority can monitor very closely what the organization has been doing. Well, if it's something wrong, we ask for an explanation, and then we ask them to discontinue or to retract the thing, and then we give them a warning. Last time we came here to ask for the big injection for the ECF, there were a lot of discussions. Say if an organization has breached certain rules, and then we will give them a warning. And then if they come again to apply for other subvention, we certainly bear that in mind, that there was a previous mistake. We simply don't have the ability to find out whether it's an inadvertent mistake or it's a deliberate mistake. So you don't have to pay attention to the intention. The objective fact is that is wrong, and then they will be given a bad record, and which will be which will be taken into account next time. Professor Kenneth Chan. If you look at the subvention amounts and the items and projects, many of them have been used for the energy efficiency projects. In the communities, you may want to help people install energy efficient facilities in buildings. More than 1,000 have been approved. Some are less popular. Some 100 or so projects are about energy efficiency audits. So more than 1,000 schemes are about using or replacing less efficient devices with efficient devices. But what about the 100 or so projects involving audits? Have you tried to find out why they are not as popular? Because I want to see some logical relationship established between audit and action. That is to say, the replacement of less efficient facilities. Or do you want to keep the two separate? If you like, you can ask for subvention so that you can use more efficient lighting devices and so on and so forth, or would you like to have some sort of relationship between the audit and use of energy efficient devices? Yes, there are two types, as you have said, Dr. Chan. Some would involve using our funding to buy environmentally friendly and energy efficient light bulbs or lamps. So using those devices will save energy. So there's no need to carry out an audit afterwards. And only if we have a big organizations involved, that audits would have to be carried out because they want to change their modes of operations and they want to make changes to the system. Smaller projects do not need that. They will just change their lighting devices. And the purpose of funding all these energy audits is to try to demonstrate what can be done, because ECF do not have the sufficient resources to do everything. So we will just to sort of provide some role model for others to emulate. So our colleagues are looking at ways to promote carbon audit, but maybe not under the ECF. We want to get big organizations to do this. You encourage them to do this at their own expenses. Well, I believe for big organizations, they can spend a small sum of money on carbon audit, and they can end up saving much more. So we believe adopting a different approach to encourage them is more efficient. But it's also an educational perspective. I would allow some time for the Undersecretary to respond. In 2009, the government earmarked 450 million, a big sum of money, to promote this project, LEAVES. It was to last for 3 years, and actually the audits have been completed. Some projects are still ongoing. We are now looking at the cost effectiveness of the program. We provide some subsidies, so it was quite popular. We'd like to ascertain the energy saving achieved We'll come back to report to members later. We hope carbon audits can become something that we all want to do in Hong Kong. Many people are now more knowledgeable about carbon audits. We hope more will be actually doing it. In autumn and winter, we would present a different paper for exchanging views. For example, green beam paths, green buildings, and energy efficiencies, and how we can make our policies more effective. And the $450 million spent by the ECF will be covered. I know the Undersecretary understands my point. These projects also serve education as well as promotional purposes. Well, you don't need to speak at the same time. There's time. We have Dr. Hannah Wong, Mr. Charles Moore, and Mr. Gary Chan who would like to speak. Well, we have ample time, so no need to be agitated. Dr. Helena Wong. Well, we support the ECF, but the ECF committee has 3 subcommittees. We are concerned about the composition, the membership. Many of them are loyalists. Very few are from the Pan-Democrats. We're concerned that these funding projects will just be just like pork barrel projects. Can you make or improve the composition so that we can be sure that it's not about pork barreling or transfer of benefits, and that the projects are considered on a fair basis? Not many members of these subcommittees are from the Pan-Democrats. Can you improve it to make sure that there is a fair representation with regard to the political party membership? We have had some painful experience in the district councils. Who are responsible for allocating or approving the applications? Are the meetings open to the public, or would they just approve projects through circulation of paper or email?
Do you require the meeting to be open to the public, and the one who chairs the meeting shouldn't have any direct or indirect relation with the applicant? These are problems which frequently occur in the community at the district council level. I hope that the ECF will not continue to be subject to such criticisms. The members ask the process to be open and transparent. It will not be a mechanism for transfer of favors. There must be a suitable supervisory mechanism, and there should be more transparency. The meeting should be open to the public. Information should be open to the public, and if there is any complaint mechanism, say, if the applicant is of the view that his proposal is better than another successful applicant, is there a complaint mechanism to overturn the decision? If not, then how can you deal with these grievances if the membership of such a fund committee is not very balanced? I will say something first, and then my colleagues will supplement, if any. This is a rather expert group. because it is to assess environment-related applications. We have not been questioned on an appeal mechanism. And even if there is an appeal mechanism, it will not be healthy. We have an independent meeting to consider that, and if it open to the public, that is also not convenient. You have to choose the best applicant or the best project among the various applying projects. It will be difficult. She doesn't mention listening into the discussion. Is participating at the meeting. I don't think participation will not be allowed, but you use the term participation or attend. Or attend as an observer. My understanding is that I think she is referring to attending in the sense of a hearing about hearing the discussion or attending as an observer. I don't think this is a suitable arrangement. In this council, at the FC meeting, we open our meetings to the public. The vetting process is open to the public. Members argue over the projects. Members argue whether we support one incinerator and 3 landfills or 1 incinerator, 1 landfill. When it comes to the easier funding, why should it be handled behind closed doors? The applications are made by the NGOs. Say there are several projects in front of us. I may have to approve 5 out of 10. The 5 that were rejected, that are rejected, maybe they are not so good as the other 5 which are approved. Discussing such things openly will not be unfair to the applying NGOs. As for research projects, they are applications by universities. If we openly discuss the projects and comment on one over the other, that will not be appropriate. Can you tell the applicants the grounds for rejection? And can there be any chance of petition if they feel that the vetting committee or the committee is not fair or the decision is a transfer of favor? Can they lodge any appeal? This is a very serious situation. We have not encountered that. The NGOs didn't feel that they were not chosen because of this. Maybe Mr. Chair can explain how we deal with the proposals rejected. Thank you, Chairman. Let me speak on how we uphold fairness. Well, before there was any complaint, we've got we had got the ICAC to vet our process to make sure that our decision was fair and just. So our approval procedures, whether it's the meeting procedures or the approval procedures, they have been vetted by the ICAC. We have a 2-tier declaration system. First, members and the chairman have to declare interest upon appointment, the properties they own, the work they have, and if any relationship between the applicant and the member will have to be declared. And according to the situation, the member will have to abstain. Therefore, we did have such cases. Members, that is quite often. After interest has been declared, the member abstained from discussing the project. As for the technical side, if it is related to the environmental protection, we'll refer the case to our professional staff within the department, and we may refer the case to other departments. for professional advice. If it is a research project by universities, we get outside experts to give advice, and then the committee will make reference to the information available, all the information available before coming to a decision. As said by the Undersecretary, there are reasons for not opening the meeting to the public, but the minutes of the meetings are disclosed to the public. So the reasons were in the minutes, and these are the minutes public documents. So the process is fair and just. In appointing members, we do not consider their political background. If you ask me how many belong to the pro-establishment, how many belong to the pan-democrats, we don't have the information at all. We don't require them to provide us any such information. And when there is a complaint, somebody will say a certain group is supported by a certain political group, but we don't consider all that. Mr. Charles Mock. With regard to the ECF, I support that in principle. I think the management of the fund may become, or the fund may become, a cash dispenser for some groups. Now you say that in the past 3 years, you conducted 2,600 inspections. The inspection didn't look like an audit. How did you conduct your inspection? 2,600 inspections, not 2,600 items. Altogether, you have more than 4,000 projects since 1994. So you may have you might have checked on one project several times. So can you tell us how you did your inspection? Now, some government departments in managing such funds do have auditors involved, or they may recruit people with auditing or accounting background to look into the accounts, and some do not. Some just allow the technical staff to look into the matter. Now, if they have got accountants and auditors to help them, the outcomes are usually better than those funds which do not. I don't know whether the EPD or the ECF committee have got people with audit or accounting background to help you with that, or you have colleagues who are familiar with environmental protection, professional knowledge, but who knows nothing about accounting, and yet he has to look into that. Now, concerning the activities to be conducted, they have to be tabulate such information when they apply. We consider the activities to be conducted and whether such activities are in line with the application. The inspection is checking the activity with whether they are in line with the original application. And you did it by sampling, yes, indeed. We couldn't go to each and every activity, but we conducted 2,600 inspections. We are sincere. We're serious about it, and the coverage is indeed of a high percentage. As for auditing, if the project is more than $150,000, the project has to appoint an independent auditor to audit the accounts. We have an independent auditor, but we don't employ the auditor. That will take more time. The applicant has to get an auditor. Yes, take a point. Do you have colleagues with accounting or auditing background. Well, somebody signed an audited report. I'm no expert. I see that report and I think that's okay. And usually that's the source of the problem. We have a plan to step up our supervision on the accounts. We'll get independent auditors to look at the matter from our perspective. I think this is necessary, not only for this project, but also for other departments. They should have such as a best practice. Otherwise, they will just go through the motions and they just take their word for it. When they see a signature on the report, they will just accept it. Can I have some more time? Yes, indeed. Please, go ahead. Now you have projects concerning new environment research or environmental protection measures, and you put the research. You put some research. You group research with technology demonstration and conference projects, and sometimes in some year the expenditure was very big, but in the other year it was less. It was less than 10 million. How many, or rather, how much resources were devoted to introduction or research or introduction of new technology? Mr. Chair. How many research projects or technology demonstration projects? Well, that depends on the number of applicants, and that's not in our control. Now, can you give us the breakdowns? Now, you have conference projects. It may be just a conference. How do I know it is a technology demonstration? I don't know whether Dr. Chan has any information of the breakdown.
Well, I have some breakdown figures. Let's look at 2008 to 2013. Under research technology demonstration, we have 71 projects approved. The total amount funded, $65 million. And international conferences, during the same period, there were 13, and the total expenditure is $10 million. Madam Chair. I will follow up other issues later that they should tie in better with other research funds. Well, there's only the amount funded, but we don't know the number of schemes or initiatives. Maybe you should list out initiatives or schemes involving bigger funding. Sorry, Mr. Chen, if I may interrupt for a minute. How many such projects are funded with more than 2 million or more? Because you need the committee's approval if it's over 2 million. But if it's small projects, a lot of small projects, rooftop greening, or installation of solar panels. So let's get some more information. How many projects were approved with the amount funded shown in the appendix, and how many cost more than $2 million requiring the approval of the committee? Please provide information to facilitate our monitoring. Mr. Chen Kan, I want to make 3 points. I hope the Undersecretary would pay attention to the issues. Some members are concerned about the lack of transparency in the vetting process, or whether certain parties will be benefited. We're talking about public money. So I believe you must maintain a high degree of transparency. If some organizations have abused the process, you should not approve the funding, and you should have a demerit point system or a blacklist And these organizations, if they come back to apply next year, should get nothing. They should get nothing. They come back. There are many similar funds under the administration, and there are also funding schemes run by the district councils. I have noticed this, and that is the vetting of the applications is very stringent, but the vetting of the final reports is not. So it's only stringent upfront. If you receive 100 applications, you ask all the members to take a good hard look at all of those. But when it comes to the disbursement, the vetting panel may not be involved. You may just ask some executive officers to do the vetting. So I hope the relevant departments can pay attention and make improvements. I've been a member of certain fund committees. They have they have an overarching objective, and every year they will set particular themes for that particular year. Say, for example, we allow people to submit applications so long as they fulfill certain criteria. But this year, the ECF, for example, would like to do more about renewable energy, and the next year it may be about another theme. I think we should have annual themes, or I wonder if the ECF committee has been doing this, or is it just about the four general objectives that you have set for yourself? A similar point is this. Every year you fund a number of projects. Would you consider which should be promoted in Hong Kong as a whole? For example, food waste recycling. That's a good example. It should be a territory-wide policy. You can start with public rental housing estates in Cheung Chau or in some other districts. And why not? So why not in the entire Hong Kong? Have you tried to gain learn something from the experience? From time to time, or do we set our priorities for a particular year? The answer is yes. My colleague can tell you the details at this time. We have a bigger fund to disperse, so we can encourage more people to apply. It's said that the vetting process, the vetting of the application is very stringent. What is being done on the other end, and that is the vetting of the final reports. Thank you for your questions. For the question of stringent only at the start, the problem of only stringent at the start, I'm sure this is not a problem with the ECF committee. We give them the first amount to start the project, and then they have to ask for reimbursement. They have to submit a report and also the audited accounts before we give them the other reimbursement amounts. And we also send people to inspect the projects. There are many complaints that we are very strict, and the application process too long. So we need to strike a balance. We know that we're spending public money. We have to disperse the money very carefully, but at the same time, we would like to streamline the process and make it less time consuming. Do we have any new themes? Well, yes. This time it's about waste reduction. The total budget, half of the total budget, will be devoted to waste reduction. And this year, we also want to emphasize the reduction of food waste. So we particularly invite and welcome applications for such projects featuring the theme. Have we also tried to learn from past experience? Yes. We did some waste sorting projects, and now we want to promote recycling of food waste. So in our formulation of waste management policies, we can take into account what happened in those projects. For example, if we want to introduce a charging scheme for waste, then what were the findings and achievements of past projects? So what they have achieved in those projects has been taken on board in our policy formulation. Mr. Frankie Yig has just joined us, and another member would like to ask questions, so I will extend the meeting by 5 minutes. 5 minutes will do. So we give each of the two members 6 minutes. Mr. Yig, well, I have been involved in the research project vetting of the ECF. I used to be a committee member. I can tell members that they were very serious about application vetting. They asked a lot of questions. The group I work in is also involved in providing matching funds for these projects. I agree with Mr. Gary Chan. And that is the setting of annual theme or themes. I hope the Bureau can set the themes and inform the relevant organizations to submit applications to support such themes. I've read many research projects. For example, we have this professor coming over from the U.S. In the U.S., there was many research projects of this nature. So there was none. So should we not do this in Hong Kong? And the Bureau would say that yes, that's true. Let's do it. So it's rather loose and fragmented. So I think we should have some focus, some themes. Because what we can achieve cannot be realized in a few years' time. So perhaps we should set ourselves a direction for the way forward in setting themes. I think this is a particularly worthy comment in respect of research projects. We'll take this into account in the future. Dr. Kenneth Chen. I want to talk about paragraph 14. Many members have asked how we can prevent transfer of benefits in approving these publicly funded programs, and we should disallow projects for purposes of political, religious, or commercial nature. Madam Chair, you mentioned a blacklist system. Other members mentioned a demerit point system. That will just add to the application process and handling. Although you have such rules against projects to advance such political and other purposes, have there been actual cases encountered in the past few years? Well, I'm not saying that you should turn away all these organizations or individuals. Well, the important thing is to have a sanction system. How can we prevent projects proposed for political, religious, and commercial purposes? We have discussed this. Some of the cases have also been covered by media reports. Now applicants know that they have to be careful. Mr. Chair has been doing this. Maybe he can update members. Thank you for your question. We have received 3 complaints over the years. We looked into the 3 cases and we understand that there was a reason why the complaints were made. So we warned the relevant organizations. And then if they apply again, we would refer the record of warning to the committee. But it's not just a passive mechanism. We also go out to inspect the projects. If there are problems, we would do something right away. And we also ask the organizations to give us the publicity materials, the advertisement, and so on and so forth for our advance notice before they actually do the publicity. We take these measures to prevent problems from arising. Well, commercial organizations are very clear. The profit-making commercial organizations cannot apply for funding under ECF. But what if there's a matching element there? We haven't encountered such applications. On principle, we are not supposed to grant any funding to commercial organizations. Okay, I thank the officials for attending today's meeting. The next meeting will be held on the 23rd of June. And then to be followed by 2 more special meetings. Have you got anything under AOB? Sorry, nothing under AOB. Okay, thank you.